As a DJ, the biggest thing you can do is play tomorrow. And I did it, and I was like, well, what do I do now? You get to a point where I shouldn't be having fun. This is a serious business. I need to be stressed out. And then you're like, why am I not enjoying this?
Australian hard trance DJ and renewed producer. He toured the world, played massive stages, and lived the kind of life most people dream about. But after reaching the top, the fun disappeared.
This guy, Uberjakd, he's sitting in front of me telling me that he's going to go start a courier company.
Embarrassed about this.
And I was like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Sometimes you give it everything you had and you think giving up is the easiest option. It took me years to now recenter myself and like, I just want to have fun making music and bring people together.
This is what sets me apart from almost every other coach on the planet. It's the conversations that I don't like to have, but they're the conversations that have to be had.
It's tough, man, because not everyone has you in their life to tell them, don't be a fucking idiot.
He took a step back and found a new sense of purpose. Because when your job is to make people feel good, no one expects you to be the one falling apart.
What are the things that really consume a lot of people in the music industry?
You are their escape. They've got their shitty job or they've got the problems in their life and they're like, you know what? I'm sick of that. I'm going to put on my favourite artist and listen to them. I'm going to get a bag and run through that with the lads and forget about all of our problems. And it's hard to think that like maybe you're partly responsible of that.
Those DJs like Tiesto, Calvin Harris, what's the difference between those versus those who are trying to make it and just don't get there?
How to get...
So we're sitting down at a cafe and you're telling me that you're about to give up your career. Now, prior to that, you were touring the world. You're on tour after tour after tour. You're playing some of the biggest festivals in the world. What happened? How did it all change? And what was going through your head? Because I remember the conversation clearly where there's this musician in front of me that I grew up listening to their music. And you were on radio station after radio station that I would listen to, and I would listen to your playlists and stuff like that. And you're sitting in front of me telling me you're about to give it all away. And I thought you were insane. So run me through that decision-making process and what happened.
Sometimes you give it everything you had. You know, you try as hard as you thought you could try. And you think giving up is the easiest option. That's it. You know, I had tried really hard for like quite a few years and I couldn't work out why it wasn't working how it used to work, you know? So I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to do something else.
So when you say it hasn't been working, you were at the peak of your career. So you were signed with Steve Aoki, which for those of you who may not be aware of who Steve Aoki is, he's probably one of the biggest music producers.
I think everyone knows who Steve is.
Well, I mean, most people do, but it depends who. I don't know, what's his background? He's like Japanese, long hair, or he's American, but
yeah,
Japanese background, long hair. He's iconic. He's got a documentary on Netflix. Mm-hmm. So you were signed to his label and you are playing at the biggest music festivals on the planet in front of tens of thousands of people, all of that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then what do you think started changing?
What changed from the early days? You know what? I lost track of why I was doing it. You know, I got so concerned about all the material shit that goes around you in the industry, you know. Because I grew up pretty simple, you know. I was like, went to a pretty average school, wasn't like brought up around a lot of wealthy, crazy shit. And all of a sudden you have some like, you're thrust into this thing. And I kind of was like, I guess people call it imposter syndrome, all this stuff. You start questioning yourself, like, do I deserve to be here? And it fully got to me, man. Fully. It took me years to now like, recenter myself and like I've just realized like what I care about now is the same thing I cared about at the start.
Which was what?
Which was just I just want to have fun making music and bring people together.
Yeah,
that's it. And like all the other shit doesn't matter.
So what started changing? You said like the materialistic things. Like run me through a bit of that journey because I'm not familiar with the music industry. Like I've worked with a few music professionals and people in different fields. I mean, these days I mainly work a lot with business owners and especially highly driven people. But I've always been sort of like the mindset, mental performance guy. So when the shit hits the fan, like I'm the guy who gets the call. But I don't really know too much about the music industry apart from what I can imagine: drugs, alcohol, women partying, like private jets, like just crazy shit. Like, but I don't know. I don't know the industry. So run me through where you started going off track and where you started losing that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on. It's pretty exciting. I think that's why I was drawn to it, because it's just like I love the thrill. I love like even today it's exciting because there's a new chapter. I love like change and moving into something new, and it was just like really exciting as things started to move at this crazy pace. And went from just making music in my bedroom to playing, like you said before, all these crazy events and stuff. And you go from being a DJ that just a few people in your hometown has heard of to being playing all around the world. It's a lot to take in. Nothing can really like, you kind of like want that, but it's like you don't know until you kind of live in it. And a lot of things happen along the way that kind of puts you in a position where you have to be able to work out who you are.
What are some of those things? Well,
you have to know who you are, because everyone's going to try and mold you into what they want.
Wow, that's powerful.
If you don't know who you are as an artist, it's probably my biggest thing I could say. Before you get success as an artist, really fucking get to know yourself. Because if you don't, you will become theirs, and you will do whatever. I mean, you got to know who you are. Probably in any business, you probably work with business owners.
Yeah,
that's you got to. So,
I mean, I've gone down that path as well. Even just with social media, you start pushing. I remember like 2014, 2015, when we're running our original podcast. And I started interviewing. I was interviewing my mates. We're just sitting there, shoot the shit. We'd crack open a bottle of wine. I was going to say wine, and I would drink. And so the podcasts were entertaining because I'm like half blasted doing a podcast, and the most funniest shit would come out. And it was awesome because it was like the conversations that I was always having with my mates. Mm-hmm. But people would ask me like, "That guy's really cool. How did you meet him? And what do you guys talk about?" And that, some of them were doing some pretty cool shit around the place, so people knew who they were. But we would just sit there and shoot the shit as mates, right? As you do. And so people said you should start a podcast and just interview those people. So I started doing that, but because in 2014, 2015, 2016, podcasting wasn't big, so I had to try to explain to everyone what a podcast was. Most people didn't know. And then after a while, I just started interviewing these shitty people, and then everyone gives you feedback on. And it wasn't because I wanted to interview shitty people. It was just that, like, who do you fucking interview? You've run out of all your mates. What do you do? Just redo them again? Like, so I started getting these people coming to me going, "Hey, I should hop on your podcast." Oh yeah, cool. I'll hop on because I need another guest. And then you're getting all this feedback from the outside. Don't like that. Don't like this. And so you start adapting, you start changing, and then you lose yourself in that process. And I think everybody goes through it. From business owners, you start listening to all your customers, but you don't actually know who your original customer is anyway. You just, you sort of do it for everybody. But after a while, then you just lose the plot. You try to do everything for everybody. You don't like negative feedback, and I don't know if that's, it sounds like the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like the same thing. Yeah. So you just have to, I think honestly, it's just all part of the fun of it.
Well, you say it's fun. It wasn't when I first met you, but
yeah.
So you started losing yourself in that process. You were saying that people pull you in different directions. Can you run us through some of those examples of what happens in the industry when you get pulled in different directions, and who pulls those strings, who's pulling you in different directions? How do you take feedback? And the other thing that I want to know is, when you're a DJ, you're essentially owned by everybody. Like everybody there, even when you're a small DJ and you're DJing at pubs, people come up and they tell you what they want to hear. And then if you start playing what everybody else wants to hear, you just become one of those same DJs that play the same fucking songs at every pub, and you don't get anywhere. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that? And run me through the string pullers and all of that.
Well, you just be selfish. You do what you like. And if you do that, it doesn't fucking matter if they like it or not, because you like it. Because if the worst thing that can happen is you end up getting really successful doing something you don't like. That's the danger. That's the worst thing that can happen.
And is that what happened?
That's what happened. That's what happened. Like it was my blessing and a curse. I had a great time being the Melbourne bounce guy. It was cool. I had such a great time, but I had a huge time recoming to myself and going like, well, I like this stuff, but I don't really like it that much.
That's the music style?
Yeah, I wanted to evolve and I wanted to change and I wanted to like do the music that I deep down love, which is like, it's kind of what I gravitated to when I was younger. It was like trance and the Prodigy and like ravey and filthy, and there was a little bit of that in my Melbourne bounce sound. But when I tried to change, then a lot of people didn't like it because people don't like change. So some people come along for the ride, and thank you to those people. If you're one of those people, there is people that have come along for the crazy ride of my sound evolving over the years. But yeah, a lot of people go, I don't like this guy anymore. He sucks. He doesn't make Melbourne bounce anymore. I only like Melbourne bounce. And, that's part of being an artist is like, I had to go like, all right, I'm going to probably lose a huge chunk of my fan base, and probably it's going to really hurt my ability to be, making money.
How did you process that? Because I know like you've done a lot of work with me now on your mindset and also the way that you run as a business, as a DJ. And, most DJs don't think of themselves as a business owner, but you are a business.
Yeah.
You are a brand.
You definitely are.
But the mindset behind going through that challenge, because I think everyone does that. And I can only talk about the journey that I've had, but also having worked with tens of thousands of people and then, thousands of business owners these days. I see this happen in almost all businesses. You start, like the journey of a business owner is you do something and you become good at it. And so you go, I'm going to start my own business. Then they start their own business. And then after a while, certain customers go, hey, can you do this? And you go, yeah, I'll do that. Because there's a little bit of money in it and you need cash to grow the business. And then, can you do this? Yeah, we can also do that as well. Then you're doing everything for everybody and you start getting negative feedback. And then so you start adapting based on that negative feedback. And so everyone's pulling you in these different directions. And that's why I believe most small business owners they die in the process of running their small business. They lose themselves in the process. They are stressed out, burnt out, tired. Some start turning to drugs, alcohol, partying, distractions like every weekend. Instead of working there, they'd rather go away on holidays or have the weekend off because they've just lost their enthusiasm. When I met you, you're in that stage where you just lost your enthusiasm. And so I assume that you've gone through that losing yourself stage. But I want to know, now that you've gone through it, what was the mental progression that you've gone through mentally to come out the other side? Because most people don't.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've got to think about that. So.
I should have given you the questions earlier so you could have thought about them, but I like putting people on the spot. No. You get the raw answer.
If you think about it too much, it's not really your answer, is it?
I agree.
So what changed to make me go from someone who'd given up to someone who's just back to doing what I love? I got to know what I like. I got the right people around me. Got the real shit back in my life, and you realize how empty a lot of the shit that people pedestal is. That's cool to have, you know what I mean? Like,
run us through that as well. Like, go into a little bit more in depth, because I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but for those listeners out there who maybe don't know who,
I mean, let's use the best example is the Lambo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's kind of like got to get a Lambo, get a Lambo, and and anyone that probably has bought a Lambo would know. It's just, unless you actually wanted a Lambo, it's not gonna. It's just you'll get bored of it.
Yeah, you're a car person or you're not.
Yeah, if you're not a car, if you're a car person, you probably love it. A lot of people will just get these things. I just use the Lambo. I'm not saying I'm a Lambo person.
Well, can you use an example of what you had? So take us back to, like, what are those things that pulled you off track? I know drugs was part of it, alcohol was part of it. late nights partying, probably I assume women as well. Like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows that, right? Like if you're a musician, you haven't gone through that, there's something's going on. You've been castrated so run us through that. Like those things that pull you off track and just make you lose yourself. And then how do you navigate that back in the day to where you are now?
Everything pulls you off track. It is like literally the most distracting environment you can be in. You are pretty much like whatever you want when you're DJing, someone will go get it for you. It's so stupid. It's ridiculous, really. But the thing is, none of that stuff helps you. It doesn't help you move forward. It's just a huge distraction. It's a test. It's a test to see if you actually, that person who at the start that didn't care about that stuff, that just literally just wanted to make music and bring people together, to see if that person's still inside. And if you lose track of that person, because some people, everyone's motivated by different things. This is me. This is what motivates me. When I get up and want to, wake up in the morning, I'm like, all right, what am I doing? All right, just make music, mate, and bring people together. That's it. Some people are probably different, but whatever it is for you, you focus on that. But yeah, what happens is all these things you start to question, like, oh, maybe I want to be a millionaire and fly around in private jets and have lots of powerful people around and to have all this fancy shit. Like I've turned into the most minimalistic person ever. And I came to this podcast, there is a bag, a backpack, and a camera bag. I've sold everything else in my entire life to go follow my dreams and move over to the UK. Literally everything I own. I had a whole house full at one stage, and then some stuff, and cars, and everything. I've literally sold all of it. Because, do you know what? It doesn't serve me. I don't care. It's just shit. And it's taken a few years. Because the thing is, I think I didn't know this before because I didn't really have much growing up. My mum and dad, I love them, and they did everything they could for me, but we were never I wouldn't say we're rich or something like that. We're just very modest, and they had some tough years, and we stuck together as a family, and we worked it out and made it through it. So I'm not saying I'm had it hard or anything like that, but I when I started to have enough money to be able to just go buy something if I wanted it, to just walk in the store and be like, yeah, I'll have that, not have to look at the price. That was very, it was a thing that I never had experienced before in my life. And I thought I wanted that.
Yeah.
It's actually, I don't care about that. Now whenever I see something like, oh, I got to lug that around and maybe sell it one day. Do I really want that thing? Oh, nah, stuff it.
Yeah.
And it's just like my perspective has changed a little bit from just, having it and then, getting rid of it. It was, it just made me realize that you think you got all this shit in your life and you think you need it, and you don't really need much. You don't really need much. If you know what it is you're supposed to do, you actually, I don't think, well, I mean, I don't need much. It's just in that suitcase over there and a bag and some camera stuff and a laptop. I could probably get rid of half of that shit again and still be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably there's a few things that I reckon my laptop would struggle without that.
Same, that and a mobile phone.
That and a mobile phone, and I reckon I would be sweet, And yeah, it's kind of that was a thing that, because I wasted so much shit, so much money on absolute garbage.
What's some of the shit that you bought that you were
Mate,
like, the hell did I buy?
Mate, okay, I still have this and I kept it for sentimental reasons. I have if anyone's like, when you're moving house and you have that big box, the big carton, the big one, it's like 1.5 meters tall. It's huge. I have one of them full of hats. Full of hats. And I worked it out, and there is like...
So you talking like a metal, like it's a metal box, or what is it?
This big.
Yeah.
It's probably not very good for the thing. A big box. It's full of hats. And I'm like, half of them I have never even worn. I'm like, why did I buy all these fucking hats?
Yep.
Because at the time I just bought them just because.
You could.
Just because. And I'm like, And that's the stuff that I decided to keep. The amount of shit that I feel sorry for the environment. The amount of stuff that I used to own that's in a landfill now, just furniture and just stuff. You just like, oh. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's good to, because you don't need much. I think, you know, and it's just in society you push to buy and do this and get this and you need this and you don't actually need half of the stuff you think you need. You know, it's you know, because this is the thing. You think that stuff is what is going to make you a success. You think if I get this, it'll make me successful. If I get this will make me look successful. Guess what? It doesn't. It's the only thing that's just make you successful is what's in between your ears.
So for those who are listening on, or you know, on the audio version, you're touching your head, right? Come on, man,
sorry.
you're a DJ. You should know.
Yeah.
You should know the mic.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. So going back to, you said there's these things that pull you off track. What were those things that you saw most? Like, what are the things that really consume a lot of DJs or a lot of people in the music industry? You know, like I'm aware of some of them, but what are they, and what are some of the crazy shit that you saw when you were in that industry?
Yeah, man. I've seen it's sad. You know, some people, you know, they just it kind of detriments their whole life, and you can tell it's not going well for them.
As in the music industry, or the drugs and the alcohol?
The drugs and the drugs and the alcohol part of it. You know, because you know, drugs and alcohol. I'm not anti-drugs. I'm not pro-drugs. You know, like, I think it's a case by case, like everything. You know, so for some people it's probably fine, but for other people they really struggle with it, and it's just, you know, because they've got other shit going on in their life. They're kind of masking it with that, and it's hard. It's hard to see, you know, when people are struggling a bit.
And do you see a lot of that in the industry?
I've seen lots of it over the years, you know, through people that have like, they've been lost way too young, you know, to people who are just, you know, you can tell that it's just not good for them, you know. And I guess it is kind of like the dark side of the industry is it's always going to be there. It is a part of it, you know, like the drugs and the alcohol in the DJ industry. It's there. You can't deny it. You can't put your eyes, you know, cover your eyes, cover your ears and pretend like it doesn't exist. It is part of it. Like the music that people go out, they're going to take drugs. They're going to definitely drink, you know, depending on what kind of genre of music. Maybe if you're in hip hop, smoke some more weed or something. But like, you know, because the thing is like, you are their escape as being a DJ. They got their shitty job probably that they don't like, or they got the problems in their life and they're like, you know what, fucking sick of that. I'm going to put on my favorite artist and listen to them for like an hour or two and hopefully forget about this shit. And you know what, while I'm at it, I'm going to get a bag and run through that with the lads and forget about all of our problems. And for some people that's fine, and then they get back to it and maybe it's not a problem. But for others, you know, it really fucks their life up. And it's hard to think that like maybe you're partly responsible of that, like by being part of the industry, but you know, you also are helping them as well, because you know, people do listen to music. I listen to music when I'm having a shitty time. You put on a good song and you're like, fucking, I forgot why I was just feeling bad.
I can tell you right now, mate, music has got me through the worst times of my life, and they've been there for the best times of my life. If I have to say that one thing's always got my back, it's music. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's hard. You definitely think about it. I definitely think about it sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to put the wrong message out, you know, like, but I can't just like go up there and bullshit to people and be like, oh, guess what? I'm perfect. I've never done drugs or anything, and I don't drink, and I'm a perfect model citizen. But I also can't go up there and be like, yeah, fucking, you know, run through one. You know, you got to be careful. You got to be careful because you are a role model, you know, like, and there's a lot of DJs out there that maybe don't like take that seriously enough, that like maybe they don't see themselves as a role model, but they are. You know, when you go up there and you say like, yeah, I did like fucking this much pills on the weekend, I did this and that. These like, you know, could be like 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids that follow you that go like, yeah, they're my idol and they do that, so I'm going to do that. And you know what? I think that's fucking stupid. If someone can say that that's like a good role model message to put out, I don't know. I don't think it is. But so it's hard. What I'm saying is, I'm not having a go at people that do that. You know, you got to be you. And what I'm saying is, it's hard as an artist because you kind of got that weight on your shoulders of like being yourself, and like also like the pressure of, you know, you want to be positive. No one wants to like think, you know, you're responsible for like bad shit happening in people's lives. So it's a tricky thing. You're always trying to like, you know, balance it out.
Do you think that, well, I've got a couple of questions because I think that these are questions that a lot of people never talk about. This is why I've enjoyed working with you over the years, because I have asked some of these questions and gone in a little bit deeper with these conversations. What do you reckon, how many people in the industry do you think get into it, start partying hard, run amok, do drugs, do the alcohol, do the women or the men, whatever is their preference, just the absolute debaucherous lifestyle, and then just destroy everything and end up going nowhere, versus how many do you think actually come out the other side and realize that that was never the reason why they got into the industry, but it was the thing that made that, it's sort of like the thing that makes the industry attractive?
Yeah.
How many do you think come out the other side of that and get rid of the drugs, the alcohol, and then really start to like knuckle down and this is a business, this is my career, this is the thing I love to do, let's fucking go, and then they go to that whole other level and become one of the greats?
Well, I don't know about anyone else. I don't know. But I know for myself.
You do. You've been in the industry for a long time. You know about everybody else.
I know. I can't speak on their behalf, but I can speak for myself. And the thing that motivated me to want to do this, because, you know, was at the crossroads, like you said before. You know, that meeting was very like, it was somewhat like a bit of a blue pill, red pill type of moment in my life where it's like, you know, you either go down a different path and you think, fuck it, I'm done with DJing, and I think I had a harebrained idea is going to be a delivery courier, or I don't know.
I do remember the conversation, so do you mind if I fill everybody in?
Sure.
So here's Uberjakd. I haven't really met this guy before, but this friend teased us up for a chat. We go out for lunch. We meet at Henley Beach here in South Australia, and you know we're both starting to chat. You know, we do the, you know, how's everything going and the usual shit. And then anyway, we order lunch, and you go, you know, I'm sort of done with music. Now, for a professional DJ or anyone in the music industry to say I'm done with music, very rarely do they actually want to be done with music. It's just that they've sat on a cactus for so long, or they've been kicked in the nuts so hard that they start to think that there's an easier path. Business owners go through the same thing where they're like, I'm done with business. But if you're a business owner, it's in your soul. You can't not do it. And
yeah, you just answered the question right there. It's in your soul. You like, it got to the point where you just realize that there's nothing else I can do. So I'm just going to do it, and who fucking cares? You know, and that was kind of the thing that, you know, just motivated me to just go like, yeah, what's the alternative? It's shit anyway. So might as well just keep trying, you know?
I remember the moment that you were explaining, you were so excited that you had an idea. You were like, I'm going to go start a courier company. And I was like, all I knew was this guy, Uberjakd, and he's this big DJ traveling around the world. I listen to him on the radio station, all this stuff. And he's sitting in front of me telling me that he's going to go start a courier company.
Embarrassed about this story.
I know, but it's so good because when I tell everybody, I was like, but this is what sets me apart from almost every other coach on the planet, because it's the conversations that I don't like to have, but they're the conversations that have to be had. And my job is to help people to perform at their best. I got a DJ that I know, or a musician or an artist in front of me who's saying, I want to go start a courier company. And I'm like, music's got to be in your soul, because you don't get to that level without it. And you're running away from something. And I remember looking at you, you're like, man, I'm going to go start a courier company. And I said, you mean like Uber the thing? And you're like, yeah, man, but I'm going to go deliver parcels and it'll be cool. Like I get to you said something like a ute, and I'll be able to go deliver parcels and shit. And like, I'll have some staff and whatever. Oh and I just looked at you and I went, the fuck is wrong with you? And you were just like, you sort of sat back and you were like, huh? And I was like, the fuck is wrong with you? And I said, you're a musician. That's what you're born to do. Just go fucking do it. And I was like, what's getting in the way? And then we got into the deep conversation. But I remember specifically saying to you, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I mean, I have to say that to many people as a coach, because most people, when they go through painful times in their life, they look for the easiest path versus the path. And it's just an obstacle that they got to get through, which will get them to the next level. And I knew that the next level was in you. You just didn't want to go there. So anyway, that was the conversation that we were having.
That was the conversation. Now it's on the record. Everyone knows.
Well,
Uber deliveries.
Yeah, Uber deliveries, but not the original Uber.
No, it's a legit story. Like this is exactly where my head was at. I was had convinced myself that was the smartest thing to do, the safest thing to do, and that's when I realized I don't get anywhere good by playing it safe. I like to take risks. I do crazy shit, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. But that's just who I am. But a lot of the time, I find it goes well because I when I do something, I give it my all. And I guess like about to take a huge risk now. Just literally selling all of my shit, going over with Ella. We're both going over to the UK, to Manchester, to live. And we don't really know anything apart from that. We're just getting on a plane, one-way ticket. It's a literal kind of follow your dreams story. So this is kind of, we're going to see what happens. It's going to be really exciting nonetheless. And for me, that's enough.
Well, I mean, that's what gets you started, right? Like without the vision and without the dream, you got nothing, because it's all just fear and worry and stress and concern. And that's where most people live. I mean,
it's tough, man, because not everyone has you in their life to tell them, don't be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody should have me in their life, but it's just most people don't like it. I have those conversations every week. Business owners get on or even people, and they're like, I want to change my life. And I go, well, why not? And they go, well, here's all these excuses. And I go, right, we're gonna get rid of them, but it's gonna cost you, it's gonna cost you something. And I can either fast track you because I need to be paid to do that. Like I've got two decades, and now it's probably I reckon $2 to $3 million that I've invested in learning and growth and all. I got to get back my ROI, right? And I say, right, so now we're at a crossroads. You need to make a decision. We're going to work together, or are you going to keep doing what you're doing? And most people just go, I don't know, I'll take the easy path. And I'm like, good luck, motherfucker. I'll see you in like 3 years after you try to figure it out and you trip over your feet, and waste more time.
Yeah. It's so true, mate. It's so true. And I think it's kind of frustrating to see when people, I'm sure you would have seen this a lot, is when people, the reason they're not deciding to do that is because they don't back themselves enough. They think that if they spend, they think that money's more valuable to them than themselves, knowing the information.
Yes.
And that is, you are what you make it. You would probably say, like, if you did your course and it was $1 and you gave it away for everyone, would it be as effective? No, it wouldn't, because like everyone would put $1 worth of effort into it.
I think if it was $1,
some people would use it, smart people, but not everyone.
I agree. I think that if you charge someone $1, most people, like, I mean, shit, I've bought online programs and paid like $20 for them, and 5 years later I find it sitting on my computer in a file somewhere, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I should go study that. Whereas the ones I paid the most for, like I only recently I did a course in the US, it was like $25K, and that was a 4-day program. So $25K for US for 4 days. That I've gone back and watched that training twice already now and done the live event, because I knew how valuable it was and how much I had to put in to make that work. I'm getting that ROI back. Yeah. It's all about ROI. Mate, everything's ROI, right?
Everything's ROI. If you start thinking of everything as ROI, if you just did that, it just changes your perspective on stuff. You don't get too caught up in garbage things that are waste of time. You know what I mean? Firstly, and then you go like, all right, what can I get out of this? Rather than like, what does this cost me? It's just a different like question you're asking yourself, and usually just prevents you from, doing shit half-assed or not doing it at all, and actually, getting your money out of it. If that's what was holding you back. If it's just like, a financial decision, because it's all it is money. You just get more money.
something I think about, because Jess and I went through this stage where we had made good money. We've got the nice house. We got nice cars. And for about 3 years, we just went through this monotony of you wake up, you complain about the same shit that you've always been doing, which for us, it wasn't our lifestyle. It was the business, right? You just complain about the same fucking problems. You just go through the same shit. And you go to bed and you wake up in the next morning, you complain about the same problems, and you just get into that habit of just, you think that you're going to figure it out and you think you're going to get through, but it's never the problems externally. It's how you're thinking about them. And I just remember waking up one morning after going through this stress, and we had high staff turnover and we weren't getting anywhere. COVID hit, and for a year, Jess and myself sort of funded the business personally and everything like that. I just remember putting my feet on the carpet one day and just going, oh, the carpet's soft. And then I was like, shit, we just put like new carpet in the house like 2 years ago, and I'd never really felt the carpet. And it seems weird, but it's like you're so distracted by shit that you just don't realize the shit that you've got in front of you. And I looked across and Jess is sleeping. There's probably, I don't know, her mouth's part open and there's drool down her face and shit. She's going to bash me. She'll jump over the counter now and come and like wrestle me. But, you know, like I'm sitting there going, wow, like here's this woman that stood by me. And I realized in that moment that I had everything anyway. It's just I couldn't even see that I had the shit that I wanted in front of me because I was distracted by all the crap that I thought shouldn't be there. And I think that, you know, what you were talking about and what I talk about a lot at my events and stuff now is like you can get so distracted by shit that when things are going good, you start to almost make shit bad. Because it wasn't that we were in a bad place, but we weren't in a good place. We were just sort of stuck in the monotony. And the other thing was that we'd made millions of dollars and you just sort of like, cool, I'm there. And it's exactly what I think you were talking about is like you lose the vision and you start playing safe. But when you play safe, that's when everything gets scary. And it's not until you've got nothing to lose. Like I think now going through that stage, the most dangerous man is one who has nothing to lose.
Mate, it's a saying for a reason.
Yep.
Because, yeah, you know, man and woman, by the way, all inclusive, but it's
I meant that as a generic. Yep.
of course. But I'm sure you have lots of girls listening into this podcast because there's so much value on here, and I agree. You know, like it's when you ask yourself, I always ask myself this question: what's the worst thing that can happen? And usually, I've always asked myself this question since I was young. I don't know why I always ask. You just go like, what's the worst thing that could happen here? And you're like, actually, that's not that bad. All right, just give it a go. This has probably got me into a lot of trouble and a lot of dumb shit and a lot of stupid things over the years because I'd ask myself this all the time. And generally,
back in the early days,
well, do you know what? When I stopped asking myself this question, that's when I started playing it safe. And yeah, that was, you know, I don't like, you know, it was just those quiet years. You know, I had a period where I think I achieved what I thought I wanted to achieve, which was, I set this big goal, play Tomorrowland, and then I just, didn't really know what I was doing for a few years there, and
so you got to Tomorrowland, and then after that.
Yeah, I think
just no real other big goal.
I didn't really set a big goal. I just, you know, I didn't think like that. You know, to be honest, I just hadn't come across that even that was a thing. You know, I was just kind of just making up as I went. You know, like it was so lucky these day and age. Like younger people, anyone really, the young people, but whoever. There's so much like knowledge out there. This stuff wasn't available to me. I was just kind of just winging it to a greater, you know, just making up as I went. And my big goal was to play an event like Tomorrowland, and somehow I look back on it and I managed to make that happen. And then after that, I lost track of what I was doing, and I was kind of just went around in circles for a few years really, and then got frustrated because I wasn't progressing. Little did I know, because I hadn't just set a bigger goal. It could have been as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, but I thought that was the biggest goal as a DJ. Like, I thought as a DJ, the biggest thing you can do is play Tomorrowland. And I did it, and I was like, well, what do I do now? I didn't even think that. I was probably just getting drunk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I was, you know, I wasn't thinking like I do now, of, you know, trying to, and now I honestly, you know, my goal is just to have fun making music. It doesn't sound like it's my goal. Like I genuinely just like, I just love having fun just making a song. I just make a song, and then also I want to bring people together. So that's it. And I just try and focus on those two things, because you can never really achieve that perfectly, can you? You know, you can always make a better song,
Something better, yeah.
You can always bring more people together. So I just try and focus on that, is like, and just scale it up as I can. So, and yeah, I just really taking things back to basics, really, to be honest.
Do you think that that's important, that sometimes as you start to progress, whether it's in your career, in the music industry, or even just in your career, whether you're a business owner or whether you're a professional or whatever, do you think that sometimes the overcomplication is the thing that takes away all the fun and all the ability to take risks and to want to grow and push and progress and all of those types of things? Like, do you think that that's something that maybe you've gone through, but also you see other people going through as well?
When you stop having fun, it's like you get to a point where you think to yourself, I shouldn't be having fun. This is serious. I'm making lots of money. There needs to be serious stuff going on here. This is a serious business. I need to be stressed out and high pressure and things. And then the fun goes, and then you're like, why am I not enjoying this? But you made it not fun. You can just make it fun again.
How do you do that? Because the reason why I ask
you don't just have to not care anymore. You have to like you need to let go of the expectation that like this song's going to be a hit, or this event is going to sell out. These are the things that like is actually not in your control. You can't control that. If anyone out there, maybe Calvin Harris, maybe he knows the secret, but no one knows. No one knows how to sit down in the studio and make a hit. It's a few people that think they got a bit of a knack for it, but you don't know. You're just having a bit of fun, just pressing a few buttons, putting a few sounds together. I just like playing around with sounds. That's what I like doing. I just get in the studio and I'll sit there for hours tweaking a sound just to try and understand how this sound is made. It's this weird, stupid shit that most people would be like, I could do an 8-hour podcast on like super high level sound design, because I love it. I just find it so fascinating. But that's my weird little thing that that's kind of what I love, having fun. And then I'll put the songs together, and for other people, they appreciate it as a song. But for me, it's just like, I made this sound, with this synth, and tweaked it around and the EQs on it, and did all this weird things to hopefully get something that people will hear and go like, oh, this is something I haven't really heard something like this before. That's kind of my goal anyway. Like trying, I'm not saying that every single song I make is the most original thing ever, and good on you if it is, but yeah, that's how I have fun. Yep. Like some people play video games, I tweak the acid.
Yeah. And all I do is read human behavior and study people.
There you go, exactly.
That's all I do. So the first one you were talking about was like making things fun and keeping things simple. My question to you was, when did you lose that? Like, what was the moment that you knew you lost the fun out of it? And then from there, what was the moment that you realized that you had to bring back the fun in order to progress your career again?
That was pretty recent, man.
Yeah, give me when it was.
It's only kind of recently. I was just sitting there the other night, and I was like, actually, it was the start of this year. Because I was like, I told myself I'm going to do one thing this year, because it'll come down from. I'll kind of rewind it a few steps, because I was like, one thing that you always teach is, and it's stuck with me really, really solid, and just do one thing, but do it really good. Don't try and do a million different things. Don't try and change your life, create all these habits. You can't do it. You can only do one thing at a time. So I'm like, so I set one goal, and I set it at Odyssey. This is December.
Yep, that's the Business Growth Odyssey.
Business Growth Odyssey. I was sitting there on the final day, and we're doing the goals, 2025 goals. And I was sitting down, and I was like, right, what is my goal for 2025. The big one. If I do this, the year is a great success and I'll be really happy. And I was like, I need to get signed. You know, if I'm moving over to the UK, it would really be good to be working with a top world-class agency over there. So I did some research, looked into the agencies and DJs that I like their sound and they, you know, would be the right team for me, you know. So I looked into it and I found an ATA agency. So I wrote it down on the piece of paper and then went off with my day, went home, and then let's fast forward, not even 24 hours.
So you wrote it down.
I wrote it down.
That was the agency that you wanted to be
ATA
with.
agency. I thought it through, I wrote it down, and I was like, that's it. I need to get the attention of these guys somehow or another. So I was like, but I'll think about how I'll do that later. That was enough. That's the goal. So then less than 24 hours later, I'm sitting on the couch with Ella, Monday night. It's Monday night. And I get an email about 7 p.m. I just ordered Uber Eats, I think. I was sitting there on the couch and I got an email from ATA agency asking me who's doing your bookings. I read it. I remember reading it on my phone like this. And I just looked at it and I was like, I threw my phone on the couch and Ella just looked at me. She's like, what? And I was like, fuck off. No. She's like, what? I'm like, that was ATA agency. They've just asked me if I think they want to talk about maybe putting me on their roster. She's like, wow, that's, crazy. Obviously, she's always super supportive. And yeah, it was. We were on a phone call within a week and I was like, didn't have to think about it. They're like, do you want to start working? I'm like, yep, sign me up. I didn't even read the contract, to be honest. I was like, that's what I wanted. There was, it was, so yeah, I achieved that goal. It was, I guess, like people say that's manifestation. I think it's, I can't say why. Just coincidence, maybe I manifested it. I don't know, maybe. But then I was like, all right, well, that's pretty fucking cool. Already done that. It's not even 2025 yet, and I've done the big deal for next year. So I'm like, what am I going to do now that I've sorted out that side of my business? I guess thinking like a business person, the job of booking the gigs is sorted. What's next? I'm like, well, I need heaps of music. I'm like, well, I'm going to start writing one song every single day, rain, hail, or shine. Full song. Needs to be an actual song, not just like a couple loops. So I started doing that 1st of December, and yeah, I've just have heaps of fun. It's like a little challenge. I set an hour. I got my clock out, 1 hour, and whatever happens in an hour is the song, and I export it and put it in a SoundCloud playlist. And I just have heaps of fun doing it. It makes like, when you've been producing music for like 10 years, it gets a bit stale. So it kind of just keeps it exciting, and I've more fun doing it. And yeah, some of there's too many songs at the moment. My problem now is polishing them up to actually release them, because you can get a good idea down in an hour, but needs a little bit of tweaking. So I think I've been my time has been very very, very, very preoccupied with getting things moved to get myself to a point where I can actually move over to Manchester. So yeah, once I'm settled down in there, if settling ever happens, I'll have a lot of new music coming. But I've still got a lot. I think the schedule's pretty full up until like July, I think it is.
But you got to hurry up and get that private jet so you can fly back to keep DJing my gigs.
I know. I need to go
my events.
Yeah, that private jet. I'll have to ask the accountant if that one's on the cards.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've learned? So when I first met you properly, you were like bummed out, down and out, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of insecurity, a lot of fear, and understandably as well. Like, I don't think most people sort of understand the context. You're a DJ who's on tour, who can have whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and everything's put in front of you. You're making a fair whack of coin, you're traveling, you're doing everything. And then all of a sudden it hits COVID. And you go from the person who has everything, money, whatever you want is there, to nothing. first of all, what was that reflection like? Is it like I fucked up everything because I had everything at my feet and I didn't have a plan, or I didn't take this shit seriously, or, you know, I wasn't putting money away and I wasn't, you know, thinking of myself as a business. I just thought this would go on forever. And was that the thing that sort of rattled you? And then the next thing was like, what were all the things that you've learned, whether from me or from others, to get back out of that? And the reason why I ask is because there are so many people out there, like you've been in my events and you've been doing a lot with me over the last couple of years. And you've been a great part of the community. A lot of people go through stages, or everyone goes through stages, right, where you grow for a while and then all of a sudden you hit that glass ceiling. And you either have a choice, you're going to bust through it by working through the challenges and the obstacles, and that's where all the wisdom comes from. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the next level and you go for a while and everything's great and everything's easy and life's enjoyable, and then all of a sudden the shit starts hitting the fan. But it's just all levels. Mm-hmm. I guess what I want to know more for maybe myself, but also for those who are listening as well, like, what are those key things that you learned taking you from that spot of wanting to give it all away? You know, maybe I fucked up, maybe I didn't take this shit seriously, and maybe I want to go start a courier business, to like getting back on track and having that confidence now, because you're a completely different guy, way more confident, heaps more grounded. Like, you just have your shit together. Like, I know you're going to crush it in the UK, and
thank you.
Not only in the UK, you'll crush it globally again.
You've been a huge part of that journey, mate. And it has been, yeah. I'm not going to say it's been easy. You know, I've had some like pretty dark days, and I'm not the kind of person that gets up and likes to like advertise that. I don't want people to pity me. I don't want people to be like, oh, poor Ben is, you know, he's a bit sad now. He's, you know, not touring the world. Like, you know, I don't want people to think like that. So I kept a lot of it to myself, and I directed a lot of that negativity, maybe. You could probably say it was negativity. Instead of putting it out into the world, I held it in. And I'm you know what? I don't have any regrets about how I did it, because it made me who I am today. You know, I couldn't have had it any differently, because if I didn't look internally for that, I would have just continued to look externally for all the answers. And that's probably, you learn to be accountable to one person. There's yourself. Mm-hmm. There's no like, oh, I need this person in my life to be accountable to them. Oh, I need a PT to be accountable. No, you just need to be accountable to you. If you're just accountable to you, you can do anything. It doesn't really, because people come and go. People, you know, people can help you. Don't get me wrong. Like, you need help. If you never ask for help, you're probably going to struggle a lot. But you need to realize that the only person you are accountable is you. And that's what I realized. That's probably the thing. I realized that I got to stop. You stop blaming, oh, it's COVID's fault. This, my sound is not popular anymore. It's people's, I keep them going forever. And you realize that if you just be accountable to yourself, then it doesn't actually matter. That's all shit's external anyway. You can't actually influence it. It doesn't matter. Maybe tomorrow, all of a sudden, the only genre people listen to is country music, and I'll never have another gig in my life. I don't know. Could happen.
Oh, you'd sample it and put a track behind it.
Exactly. Even if, I would work it out. No, that's kind of how you just change how you approach it. The world's not going to be any different. You know, it's and I'm glad for COVID, because it happened at the right time where I had a real chance to just sit back and, like, you know, really work out that I'm doing this for the right reasons, you know, because I think maybe I got a little bit, you know, all the glitz and glamour of the whole industry got a little bit too in my eyes, and I lost track of like why I actually got good at it in the first place. And I think it's because I just, you know, I had fun making music. So I used to I'm pretty much just doing the same thing I'm doing now. Just don't really give a fuck about much apart from, like, I used to go home, because at the time when I first started out, I was studying at uni, and I would get home and I'd make little beats on my shitty little PC, and then I'd put them on I'd actually burn them to CD to show my age here. burn them to CD, and I'd play them at gigs. And that's what made me stand out. I think it was. Maybe someone else will have a better perspective than me, but I felt like the thing that I felt that I did differently to everyone else is I just like made these beats in my laptop and then I played them in my gigs, and no one else was really kind of doing that at the time. There was a few other people. I was not like invented it, producing or something. I'm not saying that, but like it made me stand out. And
there's that music headlines. Uberjakd
invented
beats.
music. Fucking TikTok. People pull like just like 1 second of the thing and just like, yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of like that. I think that's why it was good, because I just enjoy doing that. Like like I said, my fun thing is to just get a synth and tweak it up and see what sounds I can make out of it. You know, that's like my video game. You know, and I love it. It's just fun to me. Probably some other people would be like, "What the fuck? You sit there for hours like playing with a sound?" Like, yeah,
yeah. Mate, I get it, because I do the same thing with studying and learning. Right? I'll sit there and people are like, "What are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just reading a book. Might watch a documentary." Like, I just love watching how high performers operate, how people, you know, create these amazing careers, and then where they fuck it all up and all that sort of stuff. That's why, you know, when you were in front of me, I already knew the pattern. And humans are really predictable. I guess music's predictable as well, right? Like if I have to create music, I'm probably going to make something really, really shit, because I don't know that there's a structure to make good music. Humans are very much the same. They're very predictable. Their drivers are predictable, and you can see it from a mile away when you know it. But when you don't know it, it doesn't look. It looks like chaos.
Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good perspective. It's very, yeah.
Well, I think everything in the universe, if you study physics or anything like that, like there's something called the law of entropy, and it talks about things being chaotic. But if you have a look at what we call chaos, it's the shit that we don't know. But there seems to be a structure of everything, right? Yeah. There's some form or some structure, and I'm not, some people say it's God, some people say it's the universe, whatever. Like, I don't know what creates the structure. I'm a bit more scientific minded. But the thing is that there's always a structure to when things work well, and there's a structure to when things don't work well, although it doesn't seem like it's structured, but it is structured.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like this conversation, because there's like some things that you brought up for me as well. Like these have been some things that I've been thinking about this year, is that fun part. Because as being a business owner and going through, a lot of challenges, that's what I lost. But when I gained back the fun, it really came down to that I love taking on challenges, and I love problem solving, and I love helping people. And if I just do that shit, it doesn't really matter. When I have problems and I think I shouldn't have problems, that's where shit gets chaotic, and that's where I lose the fun, instead of sitting there and thinking, it's just another problem to solve and I'm fucking good at it. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, it's just like, oh, look, this is fun. Like, I don't know, maybe to other people it's not fun, but for you, that's fun. Maybe for some people, their fun is digging a hole. Like, I know some people, I'm like, man, you're really good at digging holes.
Is this Dale from the castle? That I dug a hole.
So everyone has their own, like, I guess it's like, everyone has something that they're real good at,
Yeah.
And I think the more in touch you can get with that, and like, it was actually, I remember you made me do this thing once, and it stuck with me, even though I
don't talk about that in public.
Oh, you said I could talk about this. You said I could talk about this one. You said it was the other one that I shouldn't bring up.
Someone's going to be sitting there thinking, "Fuck, is he serious?" No, that was one of my bad jokes. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was, because I think it's all good to have doing something you have fun in it, but that's called a hobby, right? And that's the thing I think that is the toughest part, because everyone wants to do what they love, but like no one's going to pay you to do your hobby. Your hobby costs you money. So like what you need to do is you need to like, how can other people see some value in this hobby you do, and how can you like scale? And that's the thing that you made me do, because I was like, oh man, at the time I was like, I really want to earn more money. I was really money focused. I was like, money. Now I've realized that I don't really care much about money, and money isn't the thing that makes me tick. Some other people it isn't. And I think that's the thing that lost me a bit, is I was so money focused. I was like, money, got to chase the money, get the money, be the rich guy. And it's like, I realized that that's not, I actually don't give a fuck about money.
Do you know the fucked up thing is that almost everyone I've worked with, when they start chasing money, is the moment that they lose it all.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
when you don't give a fuck. Like the people, even the business owners that I know, when they're doing good business, they're raking in the cash and they don't care too much about money.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
Yeah, it's when it-
straight up.
When it starts to become about money, you lose the focus on adding the value or creating the product or improving the service or whatever it is. 100%. Sorry, mate, I keep interrupting. Go ahead.
No. This is all very, very important stuff to add. And yeah, the thing was, it was how can you give? I'm going to probably fuck up the way you worded it. You'll probably be able to correct me here, but it was like, how can I give the most value to the most people? And you maybe write hundreds of times and over and over and over and over, just to get in my mind of like, how can I? If I can't even remember all the things I wrote, I don't think that actually matters. But it made me remember whenever I'm approaching something to ask myself that question: how can I give more value to the most people? So it's a great question to ask yourself. If you want to do the thing that you love doing, that you have fun doing, you can do it, but you have to ask yourself a good question of like, how can I give more value to the most value to the most people? Or I can't remember the exact wording of it, but then I thought, yeah. So maybe if I do it like this, more people will get something out of it. And then you start instead of thinking about yourself and being like really like me, I'm the ego and all this stuff gets in the way. You actually just start thinking about other people, and thinking about bringing people together. And I think that's been a big thing, is just like reconnecting with, I just want to bring people together. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's a little bit of like, in high school, I was never really the most popular kid. I was probably just like, I wouldn't say I was unpopular. I wasn't like a goose or anything. But I had a small little friendship group, kept to myself, but always I never really had the confidence for whatever reason. I wouldn't say I was like a confident kid at school. So like, then I think that confidence came once I started to DJ, and it was too much confidence, and now I feel like I'm kind of just a bit more me, just really I want to bring people together.
What are some of those things that have helped you on that journey over the last couple of years that have helped you build that confidence and also find more of yourself?
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff I've done with you, mate, that's for sure.
Hey, there it is. There's the audio clip. We're cutting that out. And not cutting it out, but we're using that for content. Yeah. But yeah, what sort of stuff was it?
What was the things that has really made me get confidence? Well, just confidence is, to me, when you say something, you do it. And then people see you did it. And then that's where you get the confidence from, I say things to people. It's actually, I actually laughed at this one. This one I laughed at myself because I forgot that I said this. So a couple of months ago, I proposed to my beautiful fiance, Ella, and I organized this like violinist. They played a song and stuff. It was a beautiful moment. It was one of the greatest for me and her. And we were walking back to her apartment, and she says to me, she's like, I can't believe you stuck to your word. I'm like, stuck to my word? What are you talking about? She's like, when we first started dating, you said to me, in less than 2 years, I'm going to put a ring on that finger. And you've done it within 1 day. She remembered. And that's very important. Your words mean a lot. So be careful going around saying things that you don't intend to do, because people will hold you to that shit. I forgot I said this, and luckily, maybe subconsciously, I managed to do it. But she remembered, and she would have remembered if I didn't do it as well. So like,
what happens if it rained and you put it off by 2 days?
Well, maybe she definitely wouldn't have said that to me. So, but it made me feel good, because I was like, I like to hold myself to that. That's where I get my confidence from. If I feel like if I say something to you, I'm going to do it. Unless of course life happens, not everything, but I like to try at least, try my best. So yeah, I just started to really focus on, when I said I was going to do something, I went and did it, even if it's just like small little things, little things. Especially, I really hold myself to this on my to my fans, I guess, people get me with, fans, followers, people who like my music, people who get something out of what I do. And if I say I'm going to do something, I try to do it. If I say I'm going to put up a free download or a track's going to come out or ... I really try and do it. And I didn't used to do that. And I used to be like, oh no, it won't matter. They won't notice. They fucking notice. So like, yeah, it's just a tiny little thing, but because again, it's accountability because I know, because I will know if I didn't do it. And if I don't do it, then I'll remember that I didn't do it. So yeah, you just it's just back to that being accountable to yourself thing, isn't it really?
Who are some of the biggest artists that you've played with? And what are some of the biggest sets that you've ever played?
I've got there's some fun ones. It's really like, I still think about this. I'm like, did that actually happen? That's fucked. Like playing after Skrillex at Stereosonic, like literally having him up there, he's standing on the decks doing his thingy. Skrillex, everyone see that video and he's spinning it around and he's doing this shit. He's doing that. I'm standing there. Like you're Skrillex up standing on the decks doing the spinny thing. I'm just sitting there with my USBs. I'm like, what the fuck? Crazy, He was super nice. He's like, yo man, what's up? You ready to go on? I'm like, and yeah, I got to play after him. I
saw something. Oh, it was Steve Bartlett, CEO. He was saying like he was having dinner with Skrillex.
Yeah.
They're good mates apparently.
Yeah. I mean, he's goat. He's goat.
He's Australian as well, isn't he?
Skrillex.
Yeah.
He's from LA, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. But
for some weird reason, I thought he was Australian.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Fact checkers.
Yep. Someone will fact check it.
Yeah, someone will fact check it. But that was pretty cool. One of the really cool ones I got to do this was quite early in my career actually. This was before I really even would have had a name outside of Adelaide. I got to actually DJ after Calvin Harris in a nightclub, which is pretty crazy to think about it. You try and book Calvin Harris, I dare you. You can't book that guy unless you got anymore. But yeah, guy Colin Coleman, he ran Almost Famous. Props to him. He gave me one of the first guys that gave me a go in the industry, DJing in Adelaide. So thank you. And yeah,
where was that? Where was the Calvin Harris gig?
It was Almost Famous Thursdays. This is a Thursday night as well.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
Thursday night in Adelaide.
It was popping. It was so much fun. Yeah, there's so much going on. We were very, very, very lucky. Like the era that we're in had all these huge, for the time. Calvin Harris, I think it was back-to-back nights sold it out. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, and myself and Brad as well. I got a lot of respect for Brad. He was one of the other guys early on, gave me a go when I first started, and yeah, we did a back-to-back set. Just played after Calvin Harris after he just, he's a pretty big DJ. I mean, probably the most famous DJ almost ever, Calvin Harris.
What separates those DJs from others?
About $500 million.
Obviously. But what is it? Because is it their contacts? Is it their music? Is it their management? Is it their ability to just tour and do back-to-back days for 10 years straight? Like what is it that makes those DJs, like we're talking about Tiesto, Calvin Harris, all of those big names that we know that have been in the industry for a long time? What's the difference between those versus those who sort of are trying to make it and just don't get there?
Well, they've worked out how to solve the question, haven't they?
What's the answer?
How to give the most value to the most people.
Okay.
They worked it out for their own set of skill set. They say they were clearly giving a lot of value to a lot of people. If you can get that kind of wealth from your DJing, you're pleasing a lot of people, making a lot of people happy. I mean, I can't personally say what, I don't know, you have to ask them how they approach things. Maybe there'll be interviews, I don't know. But yeah, they worked it. I mean, they definitely give a lot of value to a lot of people, Damn, a lot.
Because I remember we sat down, I remember when you were starting to come out of your little funk or whatever, and I said, come over, and I came and picked you up. I think I came and picked you up in the McLaren, right?
Yeah, I saw it, mate. That was fun. That car's a fucking rocket.
I came and picked you up in it, and I was like, we'll go have dinner and you came back to my place and we ordered Thai food. There was me, you and Jess just sitting on the couch and we were watching the Steve Aoki documentary.
Yeah.
And I said, watch it from the perspective of like human behavior. What is he doing differently? How does he think through things? How does he language and talk through things? And a lot of it is like someone like that, you can see that he very rarely sleeps. He's just like on all the time, just gig after gig after gig after gig. Now, maybe that's had an impact on his body, hence now weighs into like a lot of anti-aging and all of that type of stuff. But the thing that I showed you as well was like, it didn't seem like there were drugs and it didn't seem like there were alcohol in his life. Whether there was back in the past, I'm not sure, but it seems like a lot of these guys who go professional at that level get to a point where they go, drugs and alcohol aren't the solution to a great career. They're normally the thing that fucked the career.
Steve's a hard worker, very hard worker. But one thing that really stuck with me with Steve was actually, it was Tomorrowland, and I was in the foyer with my mate. He was one of my mates, Josh from Adelaide. It was kind of one of those situations where I wanted to bring my mate along to Tomorrowland to share the experience with him. So I said he was my tour manager, but he had no idea what he's doing.
Brother, you could have fucked up your life before the Tomorrowland tour and you could have taken me along as your coach.
No, man. Jeez, imagine a different lifetime. But
well, when you're back there,
mate, don't worry. When it happens again,
awesome.
We'll have to do it.
That and Ultra and some of those big music festivals. I need that backstage pass,
mate. You got it. You just let me know.
Done. Yeah. So you said Steve Aoki backstage. Yeah,
it wasn't even backstage. It was actually in the hotel lobby, and this is where I was like, "He's a good guy." We were just chatting. It was just a chance. It was down. He must have been going when we were coming or something, and he was just sat down and. Steve really made an effort to like meet my mate Josh. You know, we'd met before. Like I'd met Steve before in LA, and we'd been working together for some time. You know, I was playing on the Dimac stage, so like he was the reason I was there.
That's his label.
That's his label.
Yep.
But the way that he took the time, and I remember he complimented my mate on his sunnies. He's like, "I like your sunnies," and it was just really nice to him. I was like, "Fuck!" I thought a lot of these like people were wankers in this industry, and I'm like, he's not. He's a good. He actually gives a shit about, because he didn't have to. He's a busy dude. He's fucking Steve Aoki. Do you know what I mean? But he took time out of his day just to make my friend feel good, because I'm sure Josh remembers that. Of course he would. The conversation with Steve Aoki said he had nice glasses. Of course he remembers that shit. And I'm
going to remember that now. I wasn't even there.
Yeah, no.
He liked Josh's sunnies.
He liked Josh's sunnies, and I was like, what a top dude. You know, that was such a like very, very nice of him to say that, and I just always remember that about Steve, and that's out of all the things that I've really made me. He's a good role model, and that's I think why he's really I hold him very highly, is because he is a good role model. You know, in an industry where there's a lot of people who promote something that sucks. I don't think Steve does. I think you know he does a great job.
What are the other things that you've seen from other DJs that you've been around that you've taken away from them, like their characteristics or how they behave? What makes them different? And I would assume, and this is just an assumption, I would assume it's a very confusing place. And I say that because even for myself in my own journey, you go from being a nobody and having achieved nothing to then you start helping more people, you know, in my case, or, you know, in the music industry, you start getting more and more attention. And then all of a sudden everyone wants something. So I was even talking to my team the other day and I was saying, like, the amount of people who just send me random fucking messages about, "How I got a wedding this weekend. Do you reckon you'd be able to like take me to my wedding?" And I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I've got nothing better to do on my weekend than take you to a fucking wedding in my car." And then like, "Hey, can you take me to my formal?" And it's not like I don't feel bad about it, but it's like they obviously don't understand what it's like. I don't even have enough time to hang out with my friends in my own car, let alone take other people to their formals and weddings and shit in my car.
Yeah.
But it's like I get those requests all the time, and I think I would find it, I assume that it is very, very hard when everybody wants something from you. And so it gets very confusing, and then you throw in drugs and alcohol into the mix, which is sort of like an escape. You've got the work pressure as well, where I don't know how many times you've DJ'd where you've been absolutely fucking exhausted, but you still have to push on and you got to do your gig.
Mm-hmm.
When do you sleep? When do you get time by yourself? People always around you, and you're like, I just want some fucking space and I want some sleep and I want to just be able to do my own shit, but I can't because I'm already committed to things. So I guess I want to ask a question like, what are the standout things that you've seen from those other DJs that make them a standout?
So many different ways to go about it. You know, there's a million, what is this, 7-8 billion people out there. But you know, you're trying to make a difference, right? You wouldn't, if you didn't want to make a difference, you probably wouldn't get into this line of work. You know, you want to go out there because you want to change the way, you know, someone sees the world, maybe, you know. So you have to really have a lot of conscious effort of everything you do, you know, especially now, because whether anyone likes it or not, everything is on the record now. You can't be like, oh, take that out. Oh no, let's not say that. You know, everything is on the record when you're at a gig, when you're on the conversation, when you're in public. The way you hold yourself, there's no like hiding behind a fake personality anymore. And people might try, maybe, but eventually you'll slip up. You know, so like you have to really know what you stand for, you know, because if you don't know what you stand for, then you'll fucking make a dumb mistake, and you won't know how to deal with it. You know, and I think there's so much, yeah, like you're saying before, all the drugs and alcohol and pressure and you know, money and time, all these things like put you in a position where like your stress levels are maxed out. You know, you haven't slept, you're on a super tight schedule, you've got all the temptation in the world, but you also need to get in the studio and make sure that you're like, you know, whether you get in the studio, not for all DJs getting in the studio isn't, for me, that's my work. I get in the studio and I have fun making tunes. Other people are just DJs, you know. They're maybe not so like, they're not synth tweakers like me. Yep. But that's not what DJing is. I don't know why there's this idea that like, I think like people these days don't realize that music production and DJs is two different things. And people are like, oh, well, he's ghost produced. And it's like, well, I thought you liked him because he's a DJ. Do you like him because he's a DJ or a music producer? Because like they're two different things. So
just give the example for that. So DJ,
right? Yeah, I'll make
chucks the CD in, or now the USB, or the producer. Run me through.
Well, it's as simple as what you just explained. A DJ stands up and DJs. That's a DJ. No one says that you had to make those songs. It's a kind of like they're just songs, really. No one said that like you made all those songs. And maybe some people in the crowd think that every DJ makes every song they make. No, they don't. Most DJs are just playing other people's music or music they've had made for them. Yep. You know, they might say it's theirs, but it's not real. It's not theirs. It's not their art, you know. Whereas I think of myself as like, I'm a music producer. Like I also DJ, but for me, my thing is I want to get up there eventually and just play all my own music. And I want people to, I want it to bring people together. And then people go, wow, this music's good. That's kind of like my end goal that I'm working towards, you know, for me, that gives me satisfaction as a creator doing that. But, you know, that's not all DJs. That's actually like not very many DJs, to be honest. If you break,
I don't think most musicians even write their own shit.
Right. You know, like most people don't do that. So everyone's kind of doing a different thing, and like everyone's kind of, you know, it's like the old stay in your lane thing. You know, if you try and compare yourself to some other DJ who's like doing a completely different maybe genre is not the right word, because genre, everyone knows what that means. Completely different path to success. you know, because if you're just trying to be a really successful in business and like marketing and like have the best songs, because all these DJs just, you kind of just get up there and, you know, your job is just to play some good music. It's pretty much it. It's it's not very complicated. So, but for me, I'm like, I want to play some good music, but I also want to play my music as well. Yeah. So that's what motivates me. And I think that's probably people, maybe my fans will maybe feel this more, is like, I feel like the less I was in touch with where I was going was when I started to not play as many of my own songs. So I look back on my sets. It's actually really funny. I thought I lost this USB. My friend Josh, who was with me in Tomorrowland, he goes to me years after the fact. He's like, mate, I've got to show you something. I wasn't completely honest with you a few years ago. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about, mate? And he's like, when you were getting ready for your set, I stole all your songs off your laptop and put them on this USB. So he took my whole set. The thing was, though, I lost my laptop. I thought all those songs were gone forever. So he had all these songs that I didn't even have. I was like, please, Josh, I'm glad you did that because you have to give me that. So I put it in there, and this was my set from Tomorrowland. Yep. And I put it on there, and I was like, the whole set was just Uberjakd. There's songs on there that I forgot I even fucking made. They're like unreleased songs I just made for that set, and then I lost them because my laptop got damaged and I lost all this music. Gone. It was like, in my mind was like, oh well, you know, I kind of probably gave up on myself even more when that happened. Yep. It's probably, I don't really remember it vividly because it was a pretty blurry time in my life, but yeah, anyway, so like he goes to me, this is not that long ago, and he's like, I got this USB, and I looked, I was like, fuck, give it here. Let me see what's on there. And I loaded up. I was like, fuck, you know, I went up there and was playing all my own songs. And towards the part of where I would say I kind of lost track of what I was doing, my DJ sets were a bit fucking all over the place. I was playing dubstep and all this weird shit just because I thought I liked it. And I lost track of like what I was, you know, I liked it. It's selfish, but I like to play my own songs. Yeah, that's what motivated me to do this in the first place. You know?
I remember when you rocked up at my house, we were going to do a gym session. You used to come over and would train a little bit, like on weekends and stuff. And I remember you used to rock up in your little black shorts with your little black, what are they, TNs on, and you had a goatee or a beard or something, and a mullet and everything. And I was like, this isn't you, man. What are you doing? And then after that, you sort of like changed your whole look and your brand, and you went back to like that was almost like a transformation for you as well.
Yeah, my dad said something to me about the long hair and the beard and shit, and he's like, it was actually quite emotional, to be honest. When I got all that shaved off and my mullet chopped off. My dad is a very stern, very old school, and he comes up to me and he's like, he grabbed me and he like I love you, son kind of moment, and you could tell that it meant something. Me just kind of, your parents know best, you know. They can tell when you're a bit off the fucking thing, and he could tell. He's like, when I had all the mullet and the goatee going on and all this fucking shit, it was not me. And
you're producing some pretty crazy music.
Look, mate, it was all, you know, I was just having I think I was just, I don't know what I was doing. But yeah, it was that was a kind of thing, and that happened, and I thought it was nice. It was a nice moment, because my dad's always been really supportive of what I have done in my music since the day dot, which I'm very, very, very blessed to have, because I know it's not the rule, you know, like not everyone is lucky to have parents that support them, even when they go and say they're going to do crazy things and it's not safe and stuff. He backed me, you know, he backed me, and like, yeah. So yeah, shout out, Dad. Love you.
Awesome. Just before you go, we've got to start wrapping up. But couple of quick questions. So what does the future look like for Uberjakd if we move on 5 years? What are you doing?
Mate, 5 years is going to be very interesting 5 years. You know, Ella and I moving over to Manchester together, starting our adventure together, which is really exciting. Ella's a singer. Everyone go and get around her, follow her, and she's super talented, way more talented than I am. So, I think it's going to be really exciting. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, going over with the love of your life to a completely new country to do something that's not for certain. You know, there's no guarantees in any industry, let alone DJing. You know, I'm just like, the only thing because I asked myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm like, the worst thing that can happen is I don't do this and I get to 60 years, 70 years, 80 years old and I go, I wish I went over to the UK when I was a young one. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not having that fucking thought in my head. So I'm like, well, I've only got one choice here. I'm going to sell all my shit and Ella, we're going to the fucking UK. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome. And then what's the craziest shit that you've seen on tour? What's the craziest thing? Like, take me to the craziest time, the craziest thing.
Craziest thing. Craziest shit. I mean, it had pretty big benders in Miami. I don't know if I can say that stuff on this podcast, though.
Mate, you can say whatever you want. I mean, we can just cut it out if it's too bad, but, you know.
Yeah, it was I had a massive bender and with, you know, a lot of my DJ friends at the time. I'm not going to bring any names because I'm not sure.
I'm sure they've spoken about it. Come on, they're DJs.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I had some fun times with my friends. If anyone knows the Melbourne bounce sound at the time, you know, like Jay Trick and I, we were good mates. We had a lot of good fun. Yeah, we lived together in Sydney for a couple of years and toured, played a lot of gigs together. We had an absolutely silly bender in Miami. Well, I don't know what year it was. It was a long time. Definitely.
When you say a bender, what made it so crazy?
Oh, I mean, it was like we didn't sleep for like 3 days or 4 days or something.
Fuck.
It's just crazy. We ended up at this giant strip club. It was just like went to 3 or 4 parties. Just like I remember we I was out on the beach and we bumped into the Peking Duck Boys and we were just like chilling in the water in Miami and we were just like bored. It was the middle of the day. There was no parties on. We're like, oi, do you know what we should do? See that boat out there? See that boat out there on the horizon? Let's go swim to it. And we swam to this random fucking boat and we just like swim. It was like a fucking long way out. I never would have agreed to do this if I was sober because I can't swim. So I'm like doggy paddling probably to this like person's boat, almost drowning pretty much. And I think he only let us on his boat because he could tell that we probably wouldn't have made it back without drowning if he didn't let us on to like just catch our breath. But these guys like, yeah, come on my boat. We're like chilling this like, I wouldn't say it was a yacht, but it was a decent boat. And then we got back in, swam off, and just continued the bender in Miami. That was that was a crazy week.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've got to wrap up, but yeah, mate, it's been absolutely awesome working with you over the last couple of years. And you know, from myself and Jess, we wish you and Ella all the best on your tour to the UK. And we're going to come across and hang out,
mate.
We got to get when you start doing some massive gigs over there. We're coming across, and I want that backstage pass.
Yes, mate. Yes.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming on here, and thanks so much for all of the help you've given me over the last couple of years, mate. It's been phenomenal working with such a knowledgeable and yeah, also like knowledgeable and caring person. You know, like it was by no means I would expect to have someone come in and share this knowledge to me in my life, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the podcast.
Thank you.
Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.